Hello friends, I'm Rocky Outcrop. This is a Bitcoin technical analysis video and we're all Rocky Outcropticians together in this channel. So welcome to the family if this is your first video, and like, subscribe, all that jazz. Let's get on with the charting. So we're looking at the monthly chart here just to begin with, to put things into perspective. Over here is, December 2017, 20 grand, all that jazz. And over here is where we came down to the end, March, where we have had lows of 3,900 or so. So I thought we'd take a look at the bigger picture, and the reason for that right now is that we are at the end of the month. So it's the 31st today, double check, yes it is, and we will be having a new candle tomorrow. So by the way, brace yourselves, tomorrow is April Fool's Day, so in fact it's a great day for anybody who wants to make fantabulous claims about where the Bitcoin price is going, because you can have your cake and eat it tomorrow. So beware of that if you're looking for some good things to tweet about or whatever. I'll not partake, I don't think, myself. Anyhow, well, this candle here has been obviously quite fantastic. It's increased over 100%, up, increased to pretty much the guts of 100% to get back to 70% up to where we are just now, and to get back up to the top, we would have to go up 137%. Like we've got a massive range here on this candle. So the current drop off as well this month to where we are right now is 30%, and going down to the lows there is near enough 60. And how does that shape up kind of in comparison to previous candles? If you sort of disregard the wick, for instance, if I kind of hover over it, it makes it harder to see, so you can kind of get a wee glimpse of that. And you can see that a 30% candle isn't outside of the realms of possibility. We had 30% there in that body in January, for example, and in other months recently we've had big old drop-offs there. That's 15%, and if you include the wicks on these guys here, you're getting down to 30% as well. So in terms of this price action, on the one hand, it could be a fantastic bullish wick here, which is reverse the prices up to within touching to blah blah blah, and have some sort of positive spin on it. And it can also have, it could also just be, very negative. But you don't want to be lulled into thinking, too much one way or the other, about the shape of this candle and whatnot overall. Into thinking that because the prices are back up in this area of the 6,000s, that everything's hunky dory. This has been there's a couple of other things which are kind of more important rather than just like being distracted by the size of this wick here, is what I'm trying to say there. And we can put a couple of levels in here to draw to point out horizontal guys, and we can say, well, let's stick one in at the sort of the bodies of the previous candle. The previous monthly. So you've got that run along around about there. So like that's 7,200 or so, we know is a critical area for the prices. And let's take a look and see if there's anything else that we can sort of point to as well. And we can look towards where all of this support was recently, on the downward side, and stick a candle in around about here. Just where is that? Just 6,300 or so, whatever. But we'll draw a couple of Fibonacci's in here in a minute and look at the moving averages and whatnot, and try and get confidence about different things as we're looking at as we sort of draw up a picture here. And then we'll go back over the 24 hours and we'll wrap this thing up so it doesn't last forever, this video, don't worry. Yeah, so we've got those two things there, and they're kind of the downside and the upside zones. We're quite a lot closer, obviously, to this downward side one. Where's the next one down after that? And you could kind of look towards here, potentially some wicks here, somewhere in this zone between 4,900 and 5,400. We know from our other charts, having looked recently, that 5,450, 5,550 or so is in of itself an important level anyway. But that'd be kind of cheating to bring that knowledge back from the past and use it in today's video. But so just looking here for the next one, it's hard to put your finger on it, and the reason for that, I suppose, then can be seen. Let's just ditch the MACD here off the chart and stick the VPVR as we're looking at this back on again. Sorry, indicators. How do I add it? Oh yeah, this is me doing it. I'm doing it. Yeah, let's stick this back on, and let's change this to 100. Make it more visible in a way, and style. Get rid of that. Okay, kind of have a look at that and just see what we've got on the go here. And yes, of course, so this is what we're kind of building up to saying as well, that in this zone here where we've got these big old candles having gone, and this big old wick here, there's very little on the VPVR, and that all stands to reason. Obviously, very little trading activity has happened in here, which makes sort of identifying where the key level would necessarily be. But somewhere, you know, obviously in this zone here, we've had wicks come close to in the past, and this and that price action happening actually right where there's the very least in on the VPVR at that 5,000 level could be considered to be in and around a sort of a pivot zone as well with it. So we'll just stick one in there, and that'll do for that. So that we've got 3 levels here. Now obviously, we don't need to get too excited looking towards the upside of it, you know, if and that just yet. I suppose but we might as well have 1 extra on the upside since we've got 1 extra on the low side, and we can just sort of take that area, for instance, just where that is as a sort of a starting point for that. The reason for that being is this sort of the previous high. So we'll just, not the previous high, but open, sorry. Actually, tell you what, I'll stick it in at the previous high in the open of the month before. And let's stick a couple of Fibonacci's on there and see if it narrows down the picture at all for us today. So let's go from this swing low here, for instance, to the high using the wicks. See if any of this lines up for us. Well, we've got a 786 coming in there in this no man's zone area. What about these areas here? Well, we can see the horizontal doesn't line up with anything just there, but there's a 618 right on that one where the 21 is. So we also know that that's an extra area of interest for us there on that line. Just another bit of confluence for us. Let's stick it body to body and see how any of it lines up, really just jumping out. If anything jumped out at you that I missed as we do this, and let me know in the comments below. 236 way up there, the 618 here at the horizontal line now, I suppose. The 50% in there at that other horizontal. That lines up fair enough. What about, pardon me, if we get rid of this one now instead and stick one on from the very highs. Just let me drag that up. The very highs to the very lows here. Let's just do that and see if anything jumps out at us. Okie dokie. The 236 is right on that horizontal line of the, so you know that again there's more confluence there for us if we want to know about a key level in the market. So that jumps out immediately. Make it body to body and see if there's any sort of dynamics in here. Is it distance enough away to make it worthwhile looking at? 236 is coming in there in around that 5,800 level there. What about this horizontal line in and around about 382? So that's kind of what we're looking at there. And then let's do another quick guy here, going wick to wick from that June to March, and look and see. Well, the 236 is right in there on this horizontal line to the lower side. So, you know, yet again, these two lines showing themselves up as being important. Let's move it on down and say we went from that swing high there and see, and well, we've got this in at in around the 5,500 level where we knew that that was important anyway. You know, I wonder if this line should maybe just be in and around that. It's hard to know. We can have it there. And then what about if we go body to body? Currently, I'm making assumptions here, and look and see, this would be for next month if we to close essentially where we're closing now. Well, that's essentially what you'd be looking at if the prices close where they are now tonight. What we'd be looking at in terms of next month's candle, and the 236 is right on that horizontal line there where we're looking at. So we know, so right, okay, so having done that fairly, like we did that together, we suffered through it. That's 10 minutes or so. I don't know how long into this video, but like there's our key levels really. So now we know everything from that perspective. Really, that's the bigger side. We know as well the biggest node coming in here on this screen here is the biggest. One of the biggest ones are here. Down here at the lows, obviously, I've not got a horizontal line there. It speaks for itself and all that. And we know that it drops off there in between times. So this prices that we're at currently is in and around this area is obviously quite critical again. So there we know. If we go down to the weekly chart, we can see, I suppose, a dynamic interacting amongst where we've had these lines at. as you'd expect. But we'll go back over to where our to back home again, I suppose, over to here at the Bitstamp chart with our friendly old familiar ugliness on the go, and go back down to 24 hours and revisit this concept that I was speaking of recently. Well, actually, just for the last week, for I don't know, last, you tell me, you've been watching, where we could have potentially have a head and shoulders forming up here if the prices were to find resistance in around the 6,600 area, where this 21 EMA is, the middle of the channel, etc., having created in a lower high than before, and then were to come back down, then I'd be looking at this here and considering this volume having dropped off on the way here. If the volume were then to pick up again as we come back down towards this 6,200 area, 6,150 for instance, and then down again to the 6,000 where the bottom of the channel is and all the rest of it, and then the 5,800 areas would be then become critical, because at that point, you know, you're looking at this potentially as being, did not mean to do a horizontal line there, but well, anyway, we'll just leave that for now, being where the more or less the confirmation line of this thing could line up at to give you a head and shoulders move. And then if you were looking at that, not a horizontal line again, and you did it like from there down the way, then you could be looking at coming down all the way past, like, you know, our previous lows over here, be very much negative back into the downward trend from before, and you would have to be then paying attention to whether or not we ever went down below, you know, the 3,800 level again to undo reversal in this pattern over here. Of course, the patterns that are here, like I said in previous videos and everything else, had profit taking targets in that we've already achieved some of, but of course the sort of the ludicrous ones are still miles and miles away, which are still they've not been, it's not been negated yet, so you know there's still got a chance for that. But we can just look towards the smaller time frames now that we've looked at the monthly stuff and all the rest of it. So no, that's what we've got left there. What do we have that could work against us for on that basis or whatever? Is there a gap to the upside, to the top side? Well, kept forgetting for days to show just this simple thing that I had on here. Anyway, this box kind of shows you where the gap would have been for us to come in and fill it, and you can see that it's filled on the CME. So that's not there for us in that upward side pressure. We come up, achieved a 382 retracement or whatever, come back down, got fairly close, maybe close enough is close enough, maybe in the sense to the 236 to retest it. Maybe we'll retest that again, and maybe that'll be shaping up like a head and shoulders over here on this chart too at that point, and maybe we'll see things go down the way. Back over here again, I forgot to say actually, what if the actual what if the neckline is here is more like the where the where it comes in closer to where the breaking of this channel would be, and putting the neckline in around about here as opposed to up here, then you'd be looking at even further measured move. But we don't really do full measured move jazz on this channel. We can look in here as well and see that there's the on this particular chart, this is the what do you call them? Bitfinex chart, that we have a Fibonacci retracement drawn in here to here, and got a couple of targets to the downside, 550 there where the 50% retrace is, and the 5250, 5300 where you've got this 236 from this Fibonacci retracement drawn in, and the 618 there as well. So, and again, you know, you can draw horizontals and look to bigger time frames and everything else and find all that sort of stuff out that way, but we know about all this here anyway. So that's kind of like that's the bigger picture and the smaller picture. And let's take the oscillators back up so we can see. Obviously I got rid of the MACD, pure MACD. Stochastics here are looking, well, they could potentially be ticking around here at this point here and trying to go back up and test the upside. Of course they could, but then they could also just cross back down again. We have to wait and see how the price action responds in amongst these critical areas here. I just got rid of the RSI by accident. Same sort of dealio. We've not done anything of note yet. I mean, we've come up above and out of the bearish control zone. That's good. The next thing is, do we get above the 50% line or whatever, or do we get a rejection from there? And that would all feed back into sort of the same chat again. Yet as we look at it, as it all pans out, would it be then coming into being this this head and shoulders pattern? And of course, we also looked at this before on the 4-hour chart. Oh God, it's so ugly. looking for any divergence, any of that sort of stuff. Starting off here by looking at the DMI, you know, this is a story that's repeated itself very often. This obviously could be us looking at things going towards as a positive trend towards the upside, and very much could just turn back around again. We're not quite yet having got past I mean, it's shaped up that it could that it's on the platform, but does it want to jump or not? We'll have to find out and see, wait and see. And of course, to do that, we're looking up towards our previous highs. Because if this wants to continue being an uptrend on the 4-hour chart, which it could be because it's just hanging in there by the skin of its teeth, then and that would negate this head and shoulders concept. As you can see, shoulder, head, and potential shoulder here. We have an Adam and Eve here as well. You know, then we're looking towards the previous high. So, you know, if we wanted to go up and get an actual open and close up here, up above sort of 6,800, then you're looking at that being negated. And is there the potential for that? Well, I mean, things are looking positive enough, like I say, you know, but for this to just to not just turn back around again like it has done, as we can see over the last while, then, you know, that's what would need to happen. So we can see that, of course, this could potentially this can take us right through to you know, for the next few days or whatever, and isn't necessarily the monthly type talk that we're talking before. Of course, take us through for the next few days in terms of our target. We don't have to have this happen today, is what I'm saying, but we do want to see it happen before we break down towards the lower side, and it's probably worth actually having this just demarcated here as well as being where we could have the neckline here on this particular chart. So yes, and if we were to break down past that, then of course this would be a next target where we saw this resistance coming in at before over here, and where we have had an uptick in the trade in the past, and this would be the sort of where the 21, the 55, and all that jazz are coming in at around about this 6,300, 6,200 area, 6,300 really. It would be bad news to be breaking down below that on the 4-hour chart. Over here, looking at the downs. If this was a downtrend, there's no divergence there, which led to this. If we're looking at this before as the uptrend, then there was bearish divergence across these highs here. So this is kind of the fallout from that. And then finally, just to finish up again, we're looking back over the GBTC, and doesn't it have us right here making its little doji candles right on the 236, giving us this whole indecision period as where only slight blunders are made to the upper and lower side of this 236 as we wait for it to sort of shake itself out and choose which direction it wants to go. The 21's in there up above. It does go up towards 330. It could be resisted and then come back down again, for instance. And of course, you know, the 4-hour chart's got this death cross on it. If we go back up to the 24-hour chart, you can see it's not death crossed over there on that, but you know, of course, like we don't pay too much attention to these sorts of things. But could all of this come together and have this gap get filled at some point off the back of this turning into one of these things? Well, we're just kind of taking a look at it and saying that's what could happen, so we know what could be waiting around the corner for us. Just and if you don't play these things as a sort of move to be played until such times as they break through certain levels, if you're looking at it from a pattern point of view. But all we're really looking at it from is not this huge monthly zoom out thing. I read an article online where some guy was saying about how if the prices make it above 8,000, then you'd have a hammer on the monthly chart. I mean, if the prices made it above 8,000, you'd have a hammer on the monthly chart when you've got a wick that's already bigger than the body of it. And as traders in this channel, you know, we all kind of are more concerned about, you know, things like if there was a 25% move, that would be unbelievable. Everybody would be getting swifty. There's already, for it to go up above 8,000 would be 100% retrace during this month. 100% retrace during this month. Obviously, kind of that's, you know, you'd still be within the lows of you still have a red candle, even though I'm saying 100%, because it takes more percent to go up the way than it does to go down. Just before, you know, so that's how it would be a hammer. So anyway, yeah, you know, I'm not going to start looking at that just yet. We did speak about recently if the prices were somehow able to pull themselves up another 10%, then you'd have a higher low on the monthly, and you could technically be talking about having a trend there. If we go back over to this cleaner chart, if we got above this, you would say that we had a high here and then a higher low and all that sort of stuff. Again, that's massive broad view stuff. We don't need to be looking at that. Instead, we've identified everything I think we need to identify in this channel. And if you want to find out more or anything else, then you can probably look me up on like Instagram or whatever, because I don't have any followers there as far as I really know, and I'd get your message, hey. And of course you can leave comments down below and all that sort of stuff. So I really appreciate everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, all that. Share this video with a friend if you think you've got on. Coming into this monthly close, let's see how things go. Overall, what am I expecting? Okay, let's just finish off the episode with some opinion stuff. Well, I expect that we'll probably not get back up there above this line here during the rest of the day. Like and then have a lower low happening here on the monthly candle, and things will feel quite bearish for a wee while, potentially overall, as we look towards the this is the month here on the traditional markets, but this is all having a decent enough time on the 24-hour chart. Decent enough, here we go, decent enough time in the 24-hour chart, but this is all economic stimulus. We have to wait and see how it pans out. So could that all happen, and then Bitcoin then maybe decide to become a safe haven asset and negate any of this? I don't know. I mean, we've got so many different stuff happening. I can't really give an opinion about it, whatever. I don't trade opinions anyway, just trade the technical analysis, so I guess I'll just have to do, I don't know. Am I fully bearish yet? Well, I don't know. We'll have to see how we break through levels or whatever. Am I fully bullish yet? I don't know. We'll have to wait to see how we break through levels. Can I see how this is panning out one way or the other? Yeah, I think we've outlined it. I hope so anyway. Thanks very much. Like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. I'll see you next time episode.